Sayuni sitanyamaza, na kwa ajili ya Yerusalemu sitatulia, hata haki yake itakapotokea kama mwangaza, na wokovu wake kama taa iwakayo. Na mataifa wataiona haki yako, na wafalme wote watauona utukufu wako. Nawe utaitwa jina jipya litakalotajwa na kinywa cha Bwana. Nataka msikilizaji ama mtazamaji wangu nikutie moyo kwa siku ya leo, ya kwamba pengine kwa siku zilizopita, kwa sababu ya janga ambalo tumelipitia, janga la korona, mambo mengi katika maisha, watoto wetu kutosoma shuleni, na hata katika ukosefu wa mambo mengi katika maisha yetu, na pengine umekuwa ukiomba Mungu sana, na ukafika mahali ukaona ya kwamba kana kwamba Mungu akusikilizi tena, ama Mungu huyo hayupo tena. Lakini wacha nikuambie siku ya leo, ama nikukumbusha ya kwamba Mungu wetu kuna ahadi moja ametuahidia, ya kwamba hata tuacha na hata tunyamasia. Kwa hivyo nataka kukutia moyo ama kukukumbusha ya kwamba ni vizuri ukaweze kuendelea kumuita Mungu katika maisha yako. Na akasema ya kwamba yeye amehapa hata nyamaza wala hata tulia hadi haki yako itakapoangaza. Pengine kwa leo unaona giza katika maisha yako, katika jamii yako, katika kazi yako, katika taifa letu la Kenya. Pengine tunaona giza, hatuoni mahali tunaelekea, lakini Mungu amesema ya kwamba yeye hatanyamaza na hatatulia, atatupigania hadi haki yetu na mwangaza ukaonekane katika maisha yetu. Nataka kukutia moyo ya kwamba Mungu hatanyamaza wala hajafunga macho yake. Amesema ya kwamba yeye asinzi wala halali, anatuona licha ya kwamba kuna mambo mengi yamepita katika macho yetu, na tumeona na tumepitia, lakini Mungu, nataka tutambue ya kwamba Mungu hajanyamaza wala hajafunga macho yake, anatuona. Kwa hivyo mtazamaji wangu, mahali popote ulipo, nataka nikutie moyo. Kama wewe ni mcha Mungu, nataka nikuambie ya kwamba endelea kumuita Mungu. Ukisoma katika aya yake 6, anasema ya kwamba nimeweka walinzi juu ya kuta zako, Yerusalemu, hawatanyamaza mchana wala usiku. Ninyi wenye kumkumbusha Bwana msiwe na kimya. Nataka kukuambia Bwana amesema ya kwamba ataamuru walinzi kwa ajili ya maisha yetu, kwa ajili ya taifa letu la Kenya. Sisi ambao tunaolia na kumuomba Mungu tusiponyamaza kimya, amesema hataamuru walinzi katika kuta zetu. Kwa hivyo hatutahofu na wala hatutahangaika wala kusikia ya kwamba tumeachwa na Mungu, maana hiyo ndio ahadi yake kwetu sisi, ya kwamba hatatuacha na hataamuru walinzi sisi tutakapoendelea kusonga mbele na kumuita huyu Mungu na kumsongea kila wakati. Amesema hatanyamaza, na akasema atahakikisha ya kwamba mahali sasa ambapo unaona giza ataangazia. Kama ni kanisani, kama ni manyumbani, kuna mlango ambao unaona umefungwa kabisa, auoni mahali pa kutokea, lakini Mungu anasema yeye hatatulia wala hatanyamaza hadi haki yako itakapoangaza kama nyota angani ama kama mchana. Nataka niombe pamoja na wewe mahali ulipo, na ninaamini ya kwamba Mungu atakusaidia. Baba Mungu, katika jina la Yesu, unajua mapito ya mtazamaji wangu, unaelewa njia zake, unaelewa mawazo yake, unaelewa mahali hako. Naomba Baba ukamtie moyo, akumbuke ya kwamba hujamuacha, akumbuke ya kwamba unamsikiliza, akumbuke ya kwamba wewe uko pamoja na yeye, na kwa hayo yote atakapojua ya kwamba Mungu yupo, na hatakufa moyo, ataendelea katika safari yake, maana wewe ndio Mungu unayeweza kuinua mtu aliye chini kabisa, unayeweza Mungu kumwangazia mtu ambaye anayeona giza katika maisha yake. Katika jina la Yesu Kristo nimeomba na hata kuamini. Amen. Amen. Mungu akubariki.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Can possibly remain at ease when one knows that the girl was found locked up.
We already explained what happened.
Well, I don't believe at all that story about the keys. And I demand right now that you both tell me the truth.
Tomorrow at daybreak, those plants won't serve any good, not even for compost.
In love with Ramon.
Between these two North African soccer giants, who will join Al Ahly in the grand finale? Watch the cracker live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner. The second leg of the CAF Champions League encounter between five-time winners Zamalek and Raja Casablanca is on this Wednesday in Cairo. The match had been postponed twice due to the Raja camp being invaded with the coronavirus. Zamalek pipped Raja Casablanca by 1-0 in the first leg tie played in Morocco on the 18th of October 2020. Now, between these two North African soccer giants, who will join Al Ahly in the grand finale? Watch the cracker live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 this Wednesday, the 4th of November, kickoff 10 p.m. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
On the next episode of
Nimsubiri nini? Mimi nachelewa.
Tushamalizana? Tushamalizana? Si ndo mimi namweleza mzee kukodisha suti ndio hiyo. Mimi nakwambia jana ungeniona yani nilipokuwa naipiga mwenyewe nilikuwa nimeng'ara kitu kuruka.
Sijui shetani gani huyu? Samee. Shika.
this weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Wow! Congratulations, Atito. You know, I've always wanted to put on angauni, put on makeup, you know, things like those.
Very good thing. Atito, my friend. I thought you'll never find love after that, Joanne.
Please leave Jaber out of this.
Okay, now I get this. You are married and you still have unresolved issues.
Julia, leave me alone, okay? Laugh if you must. Laugh, eh? Hata ukitaka kupiga duru, piga. Just don't let me see a fool in front of me.
Inyanju, you said I'm laughing. Okay, you people are so unfair. Why does everybody think that I do not care what happened to you guys?
Guess who the celebrity is? Atito.
Not yet, teacher.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Good morning, and thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Kenya this Wednesday, where we highlight Good Morning Kenya with the provisional results that are coming in as far as the U.S. election is concerned. But before I get to tell you all about that, the dailies this morning, I'll just go through them very fast. Brace for rallies ban and a shot of bars in as far as the curfew is concerned. Remember, today is the day where the president will be hosting the 6th extraordinary session in as far as the COVID-19 response is concerned, and people are already speculating on what we can expect from State House later today. That is the Daily Nation for you this morning. And as far as the Standard is concerned,
this morning, in regards to how these elections will go, high stakes for Kenya as America decides, because the outcome of this particular elections will determine, or rather may alter, our relations with the United States. All that and so much more, we'll be giving you details as we get started with the segment in the headlines. But welcome once again to Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Omboy.
Still keeping up with what is current, all eyes are focused on the U.S. elections, given that we already know what is happening. If you look at the state of Florida, which is considered to be a swing state, Donald Trump won this in 2016 by a smaller margin, and we've seen that it has been a neck-to-neck kind of race in Florida states. We're still watching what is going to happen in Ohio and Pennsylvania, states that have been considered as swing states in as far as U.S. elections 2020 are concerned. Factor a step in history is that a majority of Americans do not like this kind of, system where the Electoral College actually now makes the ultimate decision as to who is going to become the president. So we throw away the national polls, or rather the popular vote, and now we're going to be focusing on what is going to be happening in the Electoral College. The last time, or rather the first time that Americans tried to change the system was way back in 1816. And the South maintained, or rather blocked, this particular move. Now come 1969, Well, it might have passed in the House, but it was also blocked by the South again. We're going to be giving you details in the course of this programming as to what is different with the U.S. elections in comparison to our own Kenyan elections and lessons that we may just learn, as we continue talking about the BBI campaigns as well as, referendum issues and, succession politics of 2022. Is there something that we can learn from the U.S. elections 2020 that is going to be put into perspective in the course of this broadcast, remembering that we are expecting to hear from the president in regard to many things, but what Kenyans are really waiting for is what measures is government going to be putting in place in light of the second wave of the COVID-19. Just yesterday, reports indicated that 52 students tested positive. And this is just after phased reopening of schools targeting grade 4, class 8 and form 4s. At the same time, the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, has said and repeated one time before, several times actually, saying that the schools are not going to close. So we'll be waiting keenly and bringing you, the live broadcast of that particular meeting where the president is going to be meeting various stakeholders, including governors. And what we'll be keenly watching is which direction the government is going to take in light of the current situation we find ourselves in. I'm Regina Manyara. Glad to have you on board.
Well, speaking of the things that we need to learn from the U.S. election, remember that you have members of parliament in the U.S. as well as IEBC officials just observing and benchmarking from those elections. Clearly, that just says that yes, there's really a couple of things that we need to learn from those elections. But just as my colleagues have mentioned, that yes, we'll be here just trying to follow up on that and giving you updates on what will be happening there. But coming back home, this morning on Matters Traffic, we'll be focusing on Thika Superhighway, trying to see the traffic flow on that specific road, given the fact that there's been a bit of drizzles this early morning hour. Just trying to see how that specific road will be doing in terms of traffic this morning. Many thanks for making time. My name is Doreen Range. All right, just before we continue the day's programming and embark on in the headlines, let's just quickly look at Thika Road. And I want to start from around the Kasarani police station just before you get to T Mall, not TRM actually, Thika Road Mall. That specific roundabout as you're heading over to the city center, this is actually just slightly before you get the roundabout around Roysambu area. It looks like the rains are not really quite affecting traffic, given the fact that in this early morning hour we expect to see the kind of gridlock, especially around this specific route, given the fact that it's one of those busy highways, and also the contribution that normally rains. And also because of the drizzling that has just been happening this early morning hour. However, just away from the roundabout, heading over to Kasarani Mwiki Road, actually as you leave that specific route, coming to the city center, traffic begins to slightly build up there. But then again, also remember that this is one of those roads inside the estates where there's a bit of, if I can mention, some ongoing activities as it was expected to be expanded. And this is again one of those roads where it's normally affected any time there's rain. Because of the potholes thereabout, the roads are poorly done. And again, also if you can remember that earlier on this year, sometime in January and February, it led to a lot of commotion, strikes from matatus as well as public service vehicles just along this specific route because of how the road is poorly done and the potholes they are in. So anytime there's rain, heavy rains, or even just the slight rains that you're witnessing, it normally becomes very difficult, especially for these residents of Kasarani, Mwiki that come from this specific route. And just seeing from how traffic is doing, like you can see the better part of Thika Road just on those specific places that I've mentioned around Roysambu, Kasarani area. There's barely any kind of traffic. But when you come to Kasarani Mwiki Road, specifically on the lane that is leaving this estate, as you're heading over to the city center, this is how it's looking like. In fact, traffic all through on that specific lane as you're coming to the CBD. So again, if you're coming from this area, which is Mwiki, Kasarani, actually on this specific stretch, then this could be the best time for you to do that, because if it's looking like this, traffic all through on that specific lane, then you can imagine when it gets to the next hours how unbearable it could be. But then again, also when you come to around the roundabout, moving at a really, really slow pace. In fact, things have just changed right now, because earlier on it was green all through, meaning there was no traffic at all, moving at a pretty fast pace. But now as you just come to the roundabout again, This is actually around Risambu area. Before you get to that roundabout, traffic really building up on that specific lane as you're heading over to the CBD. But it's expected. It's the early morning hour, and I just mentioned, those factors that could probably be leading to this kind of traffic that we are witnessing. But on this specific stretch around the roundabout, and also just as you branch off to Kasarani Mwiki Road, moving at a really slow pace. Look at that. That's what the red color means there. But on the other lane, as you leave the city center, still around Risambu area, looks like there's no traffic. In fact, there's no traffic at all, moving at a really fast pace. So if at all you are coming from CBD or even just along Thika Super Highway heading over to the estates there, then it looks like a smooth sailing for you. No traffic there at all. That's my specific
rose by 341% since the rapid de-escalation of containment measures by His Excellency. Looking at political rallies, schools, traveling, curfew hours, and of course the opening of bars and hotels, all that are said to be affected if the new measures are put in place, and of course this will come after the President's address. At the bottom there, of the front page of the Daily Nation, KEMSA probe holds up supply of 6 billion Kenya shillings worth of PPEs to hospitals. Matters concerning the tech field is that you should be aware of free Wi-Fi, as in this day and time, hackers may be out to steal data and information from you, because we are always happy to see, when you are able to tap into an open network. Be careful about that. We'll be telling you details of that and so much more. And of course, Matters Education is that now universities and colleges are now starting in-person classes, even as we are now reporting increased numbers of positive cases that have been recorded in our schools. All that and so much more as we get started in this segment in the headlines.
Here we go. So we're beginning to get into the papers this morning. Let me give you a brief outlook on what is happening with the Star this Wednesday. ICC sets up a pre-trial chamber for Gicheru, and the court now confirms that since lawyers surrendered voluntarily, they will be naming a judge, or rather, they've already named a judge to hear the case. This is on page 6 of the Star this morning. And as far as the prosecutor's office is concerned, I'm making reference to Fatu Bensouda. A quote is captured here where the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court welcomes Paul Gicheru's voluntary surrender to the authorities of the Netherlands. We'll be getting to this story on page 6 of the Star this morning. Also captured right here on the front page of the Star, Kenyatta whispers to Badi. Remember yesterday at the KICC, there was the presentation of title deeds to residents of Samburu County. And it is therein that Kenyatta had a moment with, not John Badi, but Badi, Major General Badi, the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. And is captured here with President Kenyatta when he issued the title deeds to the residents of Samburu. A whispering moment there. I don't know what the Star has got to do in as far as this body language is concerned, but we shall be getting into it as far as we get, or as soon as we get to page 7 of the Star this morning. To the front, wheelbarrows. Yeah. DP Ruto now calls off the Hustler tours due to rising COVID-19 cases. Or is it COVID, or is it re-strategizing? We shall be getting to that on pages 4 to 5 of the Star today. And one other thing that I can pick up in as far as the front page of the Star is concerned, the second wave of COVID-19, Uhuru now is to lead key COVID-19 lockdown talks with governors today. Remember, he will be hosting the 6th extraordinary session on COVID-19 at around 3 p.m. or thereabout. We shall be getting to know the real situation on the ground and what direction the country will take in as far as the COVID-19 case or response is concerned. It has been said, and evidently so, that October has been our worst month. Our positivity rate now way beyond 15%. We'll be getting to this as soon as we get to page 2 of the Star this morning. That is the front page of the Star today. We'll be getting to more details even as far as the U.S. election is concerned. Ray?
Indeed, matters of, the U.S. election continue taking center stage. As I look at the outlook of the Standard this morning, it has found its way on the front page, and the header reads, America decides. Now, is it Trump or Biden, red or blue? As of early this morning, we're seeing quite a neck-to-neck kind of race there. And as far as the U.S. elections are concerned, now the incumbent, that is Donald Trump, has been quoted on the Standard this morning saying that he's battling for a second term. And that's in the world's most powerful office, while former Barack Obama's vice president Democrat hopes to use Trump, to upset Trump and win the top seat. So which way do we decide? Currently, if we can just get a sneak peek of what is happening on social media, so much is coming through, like the prem results coming in through. Remember, this doesn't go through with, it has nothing to do with the national poll, or rather the popular poll, but what we're focusing on is on the electoral colleges. Currently, as it stands, we have 108 for Trump and 192 for Biden. However, swing states of Pennsylvania still, results coming in. Ohio. However, Donald Trump has taken Florida, which is also considered a swing state there. We'll be keeping tabs on that, and also we're going to have a detailed conversation unpacking the ripple effect, or rather the impact of the U.S. election and how it's going to affect how we do business as Kenya in terms of diplomatic ties as well as business. O'Brien Kimani will be coming up at 9 a.m. with details in regard to that issue. As we go on, now going back to the front page of the Standard this morning, this how it looks like. I don't know if that was deliberate to have the red and blue there, kind of a balance, showing you where all eyes are at. That is the United States, the only country that votes using the electoral college. The first time they tried to change the system was in 1816, and the South blocked it. Now, referendum. Battle lines have taken shape. A decision time with ODM chief drumming up support for the BBI, while DP allies push for its rejection if it is not opened up for further changes. And also matters of ICC are back. Details are going to be coming up soon, where the lawyer of Gishero says, that is Haminwa, says that he's not aware. His client did not tell him when he was leaving the country for The Hague. He hasn't he hasn't officially surrendered himself to the court, but everything points to him turning, witness. Remember, during the ICC proceedings, there was talk of, bribery and, witness tampering. Corrupted witnesses and such. And he's said to be the mastermind of that. According to the prosecution, we'll be keeping tabs on what is happening in the ICC as some of the developing stories locally here. And let's not forget, back page of the Standard, we're going to be talking about Chelsea and who to watch. And this is Chelsea's Mendy. That is in his bio. You'll find it on the back page of the Standard this morning. Matters sports, matters politics on the Standard.
All right, let's now get to a bit of the details on some of these stories as they have been captured on the different dailies. And I'll start with the state of COVID-19. This, of course, is as we wait for the 13th address from the president. And looking at the Daily Nation, schools are hard hit by infections. And just briefly going over this particular story, of course, this comes on the background that the CS Magoha has in the past insisted that schools are not going to be closed again, in as much as we are seeing a second surge of infections. And yesterday, more than 60 learners were reported to have contracted this virus across different parts of the country. And starting with Kalonya Salvation Army Boys High School in Teso North Sub-County in Busia, at least 60 infections were confirmed, 52 of them being Form 4 students, 6 teachers, and 2 support staff. The governor said that they had these positive cases come after there was a random test that was done by medics looking at 100 samples that were picked to the school to just testing randomly, and they came up with this 6 cases. And this is information that is said to have come from a source who is close to the presidency when some of these decisions were being made. And of course, we're going to be waiting for the proper communication once we get this address. That is what the nation has captured in regards to COVID-19 and the restriction and containment measures that are expected to be put in place.
And of course, now taking a feed in as far as what is happening with the U.S. election is concerned. And after I do that, I'll be telling you why the deputy president is in a dilemma, as captured by the Star on pages 4 to 5 this morning. In as far as the vote is concerned, Tennessee, 85% of the vote is in, and Trump is taking a lead with 60.6% of the vote so far. Moving on to Nebraska, we've got 39% of the vote cast being tallied already, and Trump is taking the lead with 50.4% of the vote this far. And as far as Washington, D.C. is concerned, 55% of the vote has been tallied, and Joe Biden is taking the lead there with 92.6% of the vote. Wyoming, we've got 1% of the vote being tallied so far, and Trump is taking the lead with 71.8%. Arkansas, we've got 58% of the vote having been tallied so far, and in as far as Arkansas is concerned, Trump is taking the lead with 62.2%. South Carolina, we've got 39% of the vote being tallied so far, and 56.1% of that 39% goes to Donald Trump. Indiana, 65% of the vote has already been cast, and so far, President Trump is in the lead with 60.6%. Colorado, we've got 76% of the vote being tallied so far. And as far as this Colorado is concerned, Joe Biden is taking the lead with 57.3%. Louisiana, we've got 37% of the vote being cast so far. And as far as Louisiana is concerned, Trump is taking an early lead with 61.6%. North Dakota, we've got 35% of the vote being tallied so far. And 58% or 58.2% goes to Donald Trump. New York, we've got Joe Biden taking the lead there with 71.3% of the 25% votes tallied so far. Kansas City, we've got Trump taking the lead with 51.9% of the 69% of votes that have been tallied this morning, or as of now. We've got South Dakota, whereas from the 23% of the vote that has been tallied, Trump is taking the lead with 63.2%. Delaware, we've got Joe Biden taking the lead there with 59.6% of the 93% votes cast and tallied this far. Utah, we've got Donald Trump taking an early lead with 55.8% of the 64% votes that have been tallied this far. Those are the provisional results that we continue receiving right here at KBC Channel 1. And also a critical question is being asked even on social media: should I put up a photograph of my ballot? And you know, as far as the law is concerned, it varies from state to state, and as far as the U.S. election is concerned. But those are some of the details that we shall be processing for you in the course of Good Morning Kenya today. But let's get back right here in the country and take a look at a story that was given prominence by the Star on its front page. It's all about the deputy president calling off the hustler rallies for now due to COVID-19. But pundits argue, is it really COVID-19, or does the deputy president find himself in a dilemma to a point where he needs to retreat a bit and re-strategize moving forward? And also there are all other pundits who argue that he could have run out of cash. Those are not my words, guys. This is all about looking at the coin from various angles, and that story is covered in earnest on pages 4 to 5 of the Star this morning. Just to take but a snip of what the Star highlights, why the deputy president is in a dilemma. And Ruto reservations on the BBI report. Let's begin there. 1, strength of the Senate in the division of revenue. President appointing the Judiciary Ombudsman. Kenya Police Council chaired by Interior CS. Non-inclusion of farmers' issues, as well as election of 47 women senators, as well as political parties naming IEBC commissioners. Those are some of the issues we shall be weighing into as soon as we take this break. Keep talking to us online at KBC Channel 1. We will be seeing you immediately after these messages.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
That a crow can never be a swan.
What do you mean?
You saved that very woman. Don't you find this unnatural, my lady?
How can we do this?
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
What you came here to? I came here to make you see that you're walking in the wrong direction. I care for you.
It's your job to make sure he finds his balance. I can't do anything about that.
Can't or won't.
Unama.
Kuna base fulani nimegeta hapa karibu sifa na hapa lakini at least kwa bit better.
Njala alikamwona.
He's looking good.
Don't you know? He's back.
Wait, he's back?
Yeah.
Next on.
I'm ready to spend the night here with you, Porfirio.
That sounds very suggestive.
Is to make him very jealous of you and Luisa of me.
I'm not going to let Luisa marry that loser.
You know how much I love you, and you know that.
Want us to give him a good beating?
No, I don't want you to hurt him. It's only a matter of scaring him.
Just be careful with Lucho, because he sticks his nose to everything. Why did they do this to us?
Hello? Who am I speaking to? Oh, that voice. That voice, I know that voice somewhere.
In Love with Ramon. This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
This week on Wake Up and Makeup, we are celebrating grandmothers.
I'll take you to another version. I'll just promote you from kindergarten
to university.
Yes, direct.
Nimefanyiwa masters, mkiniona hapa mimi si ure mnajua. Inang'ara kabisa.
Now you have to just rub it until you feel like the product is.
He's going to be telling us more about what are some of the issues ladies above their 50s go through. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Amit.
Awesome, it's a pleasure, Christine.
That time where you and I have been waiting for. Don't forget to watch this episode only on Wake Up and Makeup.
Say that the BBI will help end discrimination, increase budgetary allocation to counties, and ensure prudent management of public resources.
Waanzilishi wa taifa letu walikuwa na maono, walikuwa na ndoto ya Kenya, vile walikuwa nataka Kenya iendelee. Lakini baada miaka hizo zote bado hatujafika huko. Vijana wetu bado wako na shida kwa upande ya shule. Elimu zingine inakuwa shida. Wakulima wako na shida. Wafugaji wako na shida.
Nasikia mnalia mambo ya stima hapa. Na stima hiyo ni kazi, usambazaji wa stima hiyo ni kazi ya gavana. lakini kwa sababu gavana hana pesa ya kutosha, hawezi kufanya hiyo kazi mpaka aendelee kuomba kutoka kule. Lakini kwa sababu hii ikipita na wamesema tunaenda referendum mwezi wa 6, basi hiyo pesa itaingia hapa.
Na sasa tuko na product ya BBI. Na hiyo document is the most consultative. Wacha hata ile ya 205 ama hata 2010. This process was the most consultative. Na vile sasa mawaidha ya Wakenya wote yalisikizwa na ikarudishwa pale Bomas, ikaenda ikafanywa validation.
Tunataka tushikane mikono sisi wenyewe, twende pamoja kutetea BBI. Sisi zote. Kama kuna mtu ako na tashwishi fulani, tutembee pamoja, tuongee pamoja. We must be of the same mind and understanding so that we can walk together.
This even as a section of the Nakuru business community threw its weight behind the Building Bridges initiative, the group calling for a speedy implementation of the BBI report.
Kama washikandao wa matatu, tulisema ya kwamba raundi hii wafanyakazi wote wa matatu pamoja na wenye magari wote wa matatu wataunga agenda ya rais pamoja na Prime Minister mkono ya kusema ya kwamba BBI tosha.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Acheng Oma.
By Safin Acheng, they're just putting into perspective matters of the BBI into perspective. That is a topic that we're going to be keenly focusing on as it continues to develop, with different factions, including politicians as well as the private sector, taking various stands with that particular report. I just hope that in the last 1 week you've gotten a copy and you are reading the document. So when push comes to shove and this is brought to you and I as Mwananchi to make that decision, then we can make it from an informed point of view. Now it's either red or blue. We are focusing on the US elections there. Remember, whatever happens in the US is definitely going to affect how we continue with our business, especially in as far as economics and diplomacy is concerned. Just look at some key highlights in as far as business is concerned. Kenya and the US trade ties there. We have the AGOA, where a majority of our products get to land there, and we have been getting, renewals in this AGOA agreement as it is, and the leather industry is said to actually benefit so much from this particular engagement. And if I can take you back to 2008 thereabout, when we had Barack Obama in the country for the GS Summit, so much came out from those conversations, and this is something that we're really looking forward to. That's why we're saying it's either red or blue. And Sam, I think on your end you have what is happening, the latest report as it is, before O'Brien Kimani comes in at 9 a.m. to just unpack what exactly the US elections 2020 mean for Kenya. Over to you, Sam.
Well, thank you so much, Regina Manyara. This is as of 7:25 this morning, and we're giving you our provisional results. The tallying is still ongoing, and in some particular states, it may take a little bit longer. Remember, in a state like Texas, there is already ongoing litigation in as far as the mail balloting is concerned. So these are some of the issues that we shall be making reference to. What you see there is Donald Trump giving his last message before the ballot. But of course, I'll be giving you the provisional results and what exactly is happening in various states. Well, argue out the case between the popular vote versus the electoral college vote, and that is a discussion that we shall be having a little bit later on this program. But first things first, what is happening in Tennessee? 85% of the vote has been cast this far and has also been tallied, and Donald Trump takes the lead there with 60.6%. Nebraska, we've got 39% of the vote being tallied so far, and Donald Trump takes an early lead with 50.4% of the vote tallied. In as far as Washington, D.C. is concerned, 55% of the vote has been tallied, and Joe Biden takes the lead so far with 92.6%. In as far as Wyoming State is concerned, we've got 1% of the vote being tallied this far, and Donald Trump takes the lead with 71.8%. Arkansas State, we've got 58% of the vote being tallied so far, and Donald Trump is taking an early lead with 62.2% of the vote. South Carolina, we've got 39% of the vote being tallied so far, and Donald Trump yet again takes an early lead with 56.1%. Indiana, we've got 65% of the vote being tallied so far, and Donald Trump yet again takes an early lead with 60.6%. Colorado, we've got 76% of the vote being tallied so far, and Joe Biden takes the lead in Colorado with 57% of the vote tallied there. Louisiana, we've got 37% of the vote being tallied so far, and Donald Trump takes an early lead with 61.6% of the vote. North Dakota, we've got 35% of the vote being tallied so far, and Donald Trump takes an early lead with 58.2%. New York, we've got 25% of the vote being tallied so far, and Donald Trump takes an early lead with 51.9%. South Dakota, we've got 23% of the vote being tallied so far, and Donald Trump takes an early lead with 63.2% of the vote tallied so far. Delaware, we've got 93% of the vote being tallied so far, and Joe Biden there takes an early lead with 59.6%. Last but not least, we've got Utah, where 64% of the vote has been tallied, and President Trump takes an early lead with 55.8% of the vote tallied so far in Utah.
That is a conversation that Sam will be coming in with in a bit. But right now, I just want us to look at the roads in terms of traffic. And I told you earlier, I'll be giving you details of how this road is developing in terms of that expansion that is happening. This is actually around Kasarani Muki Road, just as you leave Thika Superhighway. And this is the state. The current state, in terms of how it looks like. It's taken about, 8 to 9 months since this project began, a project being done by Kenyan Urban Roads Authorities just to rehabilitate these roads. Remember, I told you that what they're doing is either expansion of roads, rehabilitating of roads, recarpeting, installation of bridges, amongst many other things that they're just trying to do to make it easy for pedestrians as well as for both vehicles, public and private, as they go about different activities on these roads. Now, part of what is coming along is that pedestrians, especially along this route, or even residents along this route, have been complaining, saying that this project has stalled because, as I mentioned, about 8 to 9 months. If you can remember, earlier on this year, sometime around January, February, thereabout, there was a lot of fracas between the residents and the police that resulted to I think it was about 2 people died just as a result of this fracas because of this kind of, because of how this road looks, this traffic. Now, again, that just shows why the residents on this specific area were crying to the different bodies designated to make our roads look better, to just fasten this process, at least to make it easy for them, because much of what they're seeing right now is that just the heaps of soil making it difficult for them, and things are not changing at all. So the traffic is just building up all through as you leave Mwiki area, coming all the way to the CBD, and that is how it's looking like this morning along Kasarani Mwiki Road. Just trying to focus on what and how traffic is doing along Thika Superhighway, specifically around that area, Kasarani Mwiki Road.
Thank you so much, Doreen. Let me just do the work for you. Your next link-up segment, you'll be telling us more on what is happening on our roads this morning. Thank you for keeping it Good Morning Kenya. And in case you're just joining us, karibu sana, asanteni sana kwa kuja. This is the only way to kickstart your morning, Good Morning Kenya. And my name is Samuel Njoroge. The critical story is the coverage of the U.S. election. And so far, we've got provisional results, and we'd like to begin interacting with the ground. finding out what exactly is happening in as far as this particular poll is concerned. One that is hotly contested, one that has very unique characteristics in as far as the voting and political patterns, not only, actually at a global level, is concerned. Pundits have been arguing that it's still too early to predict who could be taking the day. In as far as the poll is concerned, all we continue to give you from the various states are provisional results, but would like to get a look and feel of what residents of the US have got to say about the ongoing exercise. Isaac Kuria, thank you so much for joining us from the USA. Karibu sana to the program, Isaac. Good morning.
And we're happy about the process.
Absolutely. You're happy about the process. Maybe you can tell us some of the issues that you have identified that are guiding the polling in the US this far.
Yeah, I think what's happening is a very normal process, something that is very traditional. Every 4 years, there is a shift or change of, political power. People go to the poll, they elect their president, they elect their senators and their, regional leaders. And that is what's happening now. But this is a process that started, going back 2 years ago when, the presidential candidates went out there. They went to, discuss with their constituents and across the different states, selling their message, selling their values, selling their, information why they should be leaders. And we are coming to this. As the report was being read there, numbers are changing, back and forth. And this is going to be a long night, maybe heading up to tomorrow.
All right. And what is of interest to you as a member of the diaspora living in the US? What is of interest to you as far as this poll is concerned, Isaac?
As a Kenyan diaspora or African diaspora here in the US, and we are so many in thousands, hundreds of thousands across different, states. We follow very keenly on the process, and we listen and we learn and look at exactly what is the candidate, telling us, what is there for us to give our vote. Because again, you're not just voting to cast your vote, but you're casting your future, your democracy, your values, the character, and you're voting for your children, for the economy, for the food, for the clean air, energy. And so there is a lot of things to unpack there. Mm-hmm. And you get to, listen in and also look at, where you come from and where you are and where you're going and as a country. But one thing I have to say is, and I'm very proud as a diaspora, member.
Yeah.
We take it very serious. I've casted my vote, early voting.
Congratulations.
And many of my friends and people I know, they have done the same as well.
All right. You've mentioned that the process is all too critical for you. Maybe you can highlight some of the issues that you've picked up from the process this far.
Yeah. So one of the things is, you look at the economy. You look at, you're thinking about the pocket issues. You have to pay your rent, your mortgage. You have to pay your car insurance. You have to go to work. And all of those things goes into the policies that, these leaders are talking about. And therefore, you look at keenly things that add value, that improves, and that looks into the future. Because, as people, we have to progress. We have to do things that are adding effectiveness and efficiency. And so keenly, you kind of compare and contrast. And I'm happy to say that, among the two leaders that are presidential candidates, there is the candidate of choice that, sit well with many things that, listen to people with, like immigration issues. You have to come here, you have to go through different processes, and therefore there are key things that, adds that are fundamental to, especially a diaspora person.
Let's take a look at two key issues that are quite proximal in as far as time is concerned. We're looking at COVID-19 and hashtag Black Lives Matter. To what extent are these two critical issues expected to influence the outcome of the ongoing tallying of the poll in America right now, Isaac?
Well, I think that's a very key point. And what I can say about that is in our heart and prayers goes to all the people who have been affected by the COVID-19. People have lost their loved ones. More than 230,000, people have lost their lives. And therefore, this is very key. People who have already voted, of course, voting ended today. There are families who lost their loved ones who could not go vote. They cannot go home and find a meal that a dad was preparing or a mother. And therefore, they are very, very pertinent things that have affected people. And for that reason, I think that is going to determine some of the outcome of this election, that, people are intelligent, people compare, people kind of get to see, how do I trust you with my health? And so, it's something that people had to make a choice. And yeah, that was one of them.
Well, in your opinion, what has been, or how has been the handling of COVID-19 by President Trump? And does Joe Biden exactly present the solution that is lacking currently in the U.S. in as far as COVID-19 is concerned?
Yeah, I think, Joe Biden has offered some, good solutions. I think one of the things is, if you look at the key things here is, being able to, listen and, work with people, be able to relate, be able to, social distancing is very key. We know that you wear a mask, you protect your friend, and your friend protects you, and that's very important. So there is, of course, a lot of public information out there of how maybe these two leaders have handled that situation, and people are very, they were led to make a decision. One of the things that I appreciate about this country is, people get the information and they get to make a choice, and they go and cast their vote, and we anxiously waiting to see the result of what come out of this.
All right, Isaac, we urge you to kindly hold on to the connection. We will be getting back to you in just a short while. I'd like to bring in Ali. Good morning. Or at least I'm telling you good morning because it's morning right here in Kenya. Ali, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Tommy. It's
the One Mic Show. What are some of the issues that your audience is bringing out or pointing out?
Some of the issues that people are concerned about is there's the most immediate issue, which is the corona pandemic. And as you already know, like the U.S. has been deeply affected, and people have lost jobs. And there was a bill that was to be passed in Congress for stimulus to assist people who are currently unemployed, it's told. And that's what people are looking forward to know what's going to happen after election, if the bill will be passed in the lame duck session of Congress, or if it will wait until whoever is the next president is sworn in on the 20th of January. So that's the most immediate thing that people are worried about. But people are also looking at immigration issues, especially people who are still on green cards, or maybe people who do not have their papers in order. People are looking at this keenly because there will be two very different outcomes depending on who wins. So those are some of the things that our listeners are looking into. Sami, back to you.
All right, Ali. And just one last one before I switch to the next person who's on connection. The fear and the concern of post-election violence, how real is it? And how is this affecting the mood on the ground?
It's quite interesting, that in my 17 years in the United States, this is the first time, like the term post-election violence is being associated with the U.S., which just shows, how serious things have got. The thing about the United States is that, there may be pockets where, we might see protests. We might see, and this is just pure speculation. The advantage that America has is that the electoral system is not centralized, so you may see pockets of unrest here and there. And this is, again, just pure speculation. But I think for the most part, I think also the issue of a possibility of large-scale violence is also being overplayed by a lot of people from outside the United States, but I can tell you, there is a lot of tension, and everybody is tuned in to find out what's going to happen because everybody's anxious. Back to you.
Nice to note your views right there, Arlene, as far as that particular issue is concerned. We urge you to remain in connection, and we shall be getting back to you in just a short while. But we'd like to bring in Belwa Bandio. Thank you so much for joining us, and good evening. What has this process taught you, or what are the issues that are coming out of this process in as far as your observation is concerned, Mubelwa?
Well, like Ali said, this process is not centralized, so somehow it's governed by whoever is in charge of the states. And we've seen some of the states doing some of the stuff that really they will kind of make it harder for some of the voters, especially black voters, to cast their ballot or to get their votes counted. So that to me is like a system that it's either created or it's enhancing some sort of I don't want to say it's just unfair voting for the people, and majority being the black votes.
Mm-hmm. And to what extent is that population, when you talk about African Americans, the Hispanic, and that demography, what extent do we expect them to influence the outcome of the election?
Well, with the election this close, every vote counts. We know that it's not, yes, they do win by electoral college votes, but sometimes that difference, those few thousands could be the difference of 55 votes, or it could be 29, like what happened in Florida in 2000 or everything. So to me, it doesn't matter like how many votes or what's the big impact. It's like, it's their right to do that. And when they go, if they can and they have to cast their votes, let them do it and let it be counted. There should never be any kind of system that will make it harder for them to do or practice their rights and their duty.
All right, Bello, we are getting back to you in just a short while, and thank you so much for your contribution this far. But locally, we've got our analyst here, Alex Munyasi, joining us by way of Zoom. Good morning, Alex. What is your brief observation of the U.S. poll this far?
Good morning, Samuel.
Good morning.
It's interesting. When you talk about the U.S. election, it depends on whom you're asking. If it's someone who is Kenyan living in the US, or you're talking about a Kenyan who is living in Kenya, or an African in Africa, it also depends on whether the American considers themselves they want to fight for the soul of America in according to what they consider that to mean. And that's why you're seeing strange things like what you asked about post-election violence. We were watching yesterday a few people pulling up arms and preparing for whatever it is that might come to pass, or whatever it is that they're thinking they should be protecting. And so this election probably is more divisive than what the first election was. When Trump was elected.
But Alex,
and if you look at yes, if you look at the way people are making comments about many things, for example, you will see that any association with foreign policy will elicit a lot of emotion depending on the approaches the two candidates have been having.
You know,
while one...
Alex, I would like us to take a point at a time, kindly, and you've just mentioned foreign policy. To what extent is the outcome of this election of interest to us right here in Kenya, owing to the fact that the US is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, and we just secured a position within this particular council, and we are seeing what is happening with the ICC and Paul Gicheru. What is of interest to us?
So interestingly, that question is interesting because it talks about what is of interest to us. But ultimately, we have almost no say in terms of how the voting pattern is handled in the US. And so that's why I was saying it really depends on how on who is approaching this matter. Of course, if you talk about matters foreign policy, Trump on one hand insists that Americans come first. He insists that according to him, the resources of the US are spent in the US first. He does not believe, for example, in going after other countries and that much. He has pulling troops back home. That was his plan. But on the other hand, Joe Biden is the exact opposite of that. He's reaching out much more. He wants to look at what is happening in other places to directly influence stability or whatever it is, reaching out to other countries in terms of foreign aid and other stuff. But so that if you think about it that way, then the people who make decisions about how they vote, they are influenced by what they think about what that means to them. And so that's exactly why this election is so fierce in the sense that it elicits a lot of emotion in our context. It's never about what we want to see change, but it's always about who is the person that we're putting into office. And so we feel associated with that person because he's our own, other than associating the person because of what we expect them to see, to do for us. And so that probably will be the biggest difference between the Kenyan context and what my colleagues are saying on the panel in terms of what they expect to see in their context.
Right, and we shall also be monitoring the reaction across the globe in as far as coverage of the America's election is concerned. Remember, this is a superpower we are talking about, and whoever gets to take the seat, will it be Joe Biden or Donald Trump, will definitely have an effect in as far as foreign policy is concerned. Well, all we can tell you about the two gentlemen this far is that Donald Trump continues to monitor the outcome of the poll from White House, while Joe Biden continues to do the same from his home in Wilmington in Delaware State. But for now, we still have Isaac, Mubelwa and Ali still in connection, as well as our analyst locally, that is Alex Manyasi. We shall be interacting with them in just a short while. But for now, I bring in my colleagues Regina Manyara and Jane Wamboi for commentary on what is happening in as far as America's poll is concerned. Regina?
Now, you've mentioned something very unique there, that where the incumbent, or the current president, Donald Trump, is watching the election results. He's doing that within White House, sorry. Being a Kenyan, I'm already thinking about State House. Yes, the White House. This is something that has not been done by any other previous president. Actually, they vacate the White House, according to history, and monitor the elections. Then they can only come back after, indeed, they are confirmed, or rather they take the presidency. But what we're seeing, Donald Trump is staying put. That's a lot of, faith that the man has in his re-election there for 2024. And with the results continue streaming in, Sam, I liked what you highlighted about the results that we got earlier this morning at around 7:30. Now, the swing states that we are looking at is Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. Each have, Michigan has 16 electoral votes in as far as the electoral college is concerned, Pennsylvania 20, Wisconsin 10, and North Carolina 15. Now, Texas and Florida, early this morning at around 6 a.m., we saw a neck-to-neck kind of race there in Florida between Biden there and the incumbent there, Donald Trump, where Donald Trump has already called it, or rather it has already been called for Donald Trump in Florida. Now, Kenyans have been asking, or rather if you've been wondering then why isn't the United States focusing on the most popular vote? Well, the Americans, or rather the United States of America, is the only country that does not follow the popular vote, or rather what we call the national polls. They focus on, the votes from the Electoral College. And this is, is something that a poll that was done over the last few months indicated that most Americans do not like this full system. But over the years, attempts have been made to change the system, with the first being in 1816, and the South opposed it. We'll be looking at that as we continue with this broadcast, just to try and unpack what is happening in the U.S. elections 2020.
Absolutely, and we are here to keep you up to date on all that is happening both on social and mainstream media. And just to keep you up to date with it, so far what we have is that this is one of the most contested presidential elections that the U.S. has seen, with such a high turnout of voters who actually voted early before the actual election day. According to the data that has been put out so far, it is estimated that 102 million voters came out to vote before election day, and it is coming out to be really tough. And speaking of those battleground areas, the states that have a swing vote of some sense, those are the states of Arizona, as mentioned by Regina right there. We have Arizona, Iowa, Georgia, Florida, Michigan, and North Carolina, as well as Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wisconsin. And looking at Texas, the vote has already come in for Texas, and Trump has won Texas. And there's actually a post that has been put out there. 38 electoral votes. Thank you, Texas. We have seen so much mixed reactions on the socials in regards to this particular vote. So many people were hoping Biden would take this particular state, but that is not the situation so far. So Texas is already for Trump. We are now waiting to see the other states as and when their votes have been put in, how that will go, either Biden or Trump. Here to keep you up to date with #AmericaDecides.
#AmericaDecides. The 49 electoral votes in Texas now go to Trump. But remember, he hails from the Republican Party that had launched an appeal against a decision by the Supreme Court in as far as the counting of the votes therein is concerned. Will they be withdrawing this particular appeal? And to what extent is this court decision likely to influence the outcome of the poll? Well, there are some issues that are likely to derail the final outcome of the U.S. election. Traditionally, around this time, towards 11 a.m., we usually have a clear picture on who is taking the lead. If I may make reference even to 2016, as early as around 10 a.m. Kenyan time, it is when Trump appeared and said, you know what, I just received a call from Hillary Clinton congratulating me for winning the election. That may not happen this time around. It may take a bit of time because, of course, there's litigation. There's a whole issue around mail polling. Trump has been very ardent about some of the issues he feels are misleading the residents of America. In as far as the polls are concerned, we've seen heated debates so far, and the elephant in the room, COVID-19. These are some of the issues that are likely to influence and affect the outcome of the U.S. election. But so far, I'm still here with Isaac, Mubelwa, and Ali, all residents of the US of A. And locally, we've got Alex Manyasi, who's joining us by way of Zoom. Before I get to our Kenyans living in the diaspora, let me come to you, Alex, in as far as representation is concerned. What's your take in as far as this electoral college way of determining the president is concerned? Manyasi.
Sam, even in our own country, we have had a lot of challenges with our own electoral system. and every country will have a problem or two about how they conduct their elections. But if you look at the last election, for example, Trump won through the Electoral College and the popular vote. He didn't win the popular vote. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was to win this election, if the same actually repeats itself. So the history of their country and what they consider as equity in terms of representation is concerned is, I guess, what they pegged their system on, in the sense that representation is considered based on what people cast their vote as, but at the same time, you want to make sure that it's weighted in the sense that what the ultimate decision is the way the ultimate decision is arrived at is not based necessarily on what everybody has said, even though what everybody says has an add-on in terms of when that state is won, for example, what is the representation it takes on the table in terms of the final tally or the final decision. So that's what I can say in terms of the pros and cons. I wish we, as we talk about that as an issue, in our Kenyan context today, for example, we are talking about one man, one vote, but at the same time, we keep saying certain regions are not getting fair share because of representation in parliament, and the BBI process is doing exactly that, going to add additional figures for representation in parliament based on the numbers in those regions. So you see, that is almost the same thing that we are going to do. So ultimately, the vote that you have in parliament is going to be a vote based on how
what really makes sense. So for the future, that's something to be determined, but it cannot without that. Then this will continue being the trend, will continue being a reputation of you can have a candidate winning the popular vote, but again, not getting to the presidency. So, yeah.
All right. Mubelwa, is there any benefit of having the Electoral College determine the outcome of the poll in the U.S.?
For now, I don't think so. I think, like Ali said, there was a really good intention of having it back in the days, but now I don't think it served the purpose. It really take away from that definition of democracy, of being the power of the people, by the people, for the people. It's kind of, for some, it's not representing the right number. I mean, some of the states, yes, states with bigger number, but you have to remember that here in the US, the minimum, it doesn't matter, these votes are divided according to the population, but the minimum is 3. So some of the states have a very small number of people, but they still have 3 votes. So if you look at it, sometimes it's just, I'll go back and this is my opinion, I'll go back to the just popular votes, meaning that you go there, you campaign, and with these electoral college votes, the other thing it does is like people concentrate only in few places. Like we didn't see anybody in places like Maryland. They didn't come to campaign because they knew that they had the votes they need for the to win the election. So like Trump knew that this was a blue state. Like Ali said, Washington D.C. is probably the bluest place in the country. So there was no need for Joe Biden to come in because he knew he had the vote, and Trump didn't want to come in because he knew he wasn't going to change anything. So I think they need to go back to it. And this conversation has started. There's conversation about the Electoral College, there's conversation about all this stuff like Supreme Court and everything. I believe if Trump wins, this is going to be a big conversation moving forward.
I'd like to come to you, Ali, as part of your final word. Which swing state for you, or states, could determine the outcome of this poll?
I mean, as of right now, it will go back to the same 3 states that gave Trump the presidency back in 2016, and that's Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. I'm tempted to add Arizona to that, but from my own personal projection, I think Arizona will go to Biden. So I think it will rest with those 3 with those 3 states once all the votes have been tallied and counted. Sami, back to you.
All right, Ali, thank you so much for joining us, and a big up, a huge one at that matter, to your audience who listening to the One Mic Show. Congratulations for that. And we shall be interacting with you in the course of time. In the meantime, thank you so much for your time. Isaac, I'm coming to you. Which swing states could be determining the outcome of this particular poll in your own assessment?
Yeah, I think, looking at Pennsylvania has been, a very, core state that, both candidates have paid attention to. They have campaigned, and you're looking at 20 electoral votes there. We also have North Carolina that has 15 electoral votes. And I haven't watched the updates, but it's very, very competitive. Also, you have to look at Wisconsin and Michigan, of course. So those are, some of the things that, some of the early voting that haven't been counted. So this would not be determined until, the later hours. But, keeping an eye on that.
Absolutely, and we shall be keeping an eye with you. Isaac, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the best in both your present and future endeavors. Have a good evening. And I'm coming to you, Mubelwa. Which swing states could be determining the outcome of this poll in your own assessment?
I think it would be Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and mainly Pennsylvania. And unfortunately, because of what had happened, the complaint that Trump has said, and the fact that not all early ballots will be counted, some of them can be, I think they'll start counting tomorrow. So that might drag the result if that would be the state to determine the president. But I think it would be Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
All right, Mubelwa, thank you so much. Join in with Isaac and Ali. Gentlemen, you probably need to sleep because I know it's some minutes past midnight in the U.S. But for now, thank you so much for your contribution and your time right here on Good Morning Kenya as KBC Channel 1 continues coverage on America Decides. Various states have already begun reporting both provisional and final tally results earlier on. We did tell you what is happening in Texas, but before we give you a roundup in as far as the percentage and the figures are concerned, Alex Manyasi, you've been with us locally analyzing the U.S. election. What's your final word so far, and what will you be looking out for in as far as this outcome of this poll is concerned? Alex.
Yeah, what I can say is that the more things look different, the more they look the same. In the U.S. election this time. Why I say that is because the large voter turnout, in my view, that you're seeing in the U.S. today is more towards the different camps cementing their positions more than voting the other way. And the people who have switched camp, if you listen to a lot of discussions, there are very few. But beyond that, if you think about what has happened in the US in the recent past, like I said initially, it's more of people looking at what matters to them the most. That is what is going to determine the election this time round. But ahead of that is that you're more likely to see a very close contest in terms of the outcome that you're going to see. And it could go either way, but it's going to be so close such that it's uncomfortable for both camps at this point in time. That's why it's almost impossible to determine what this election is going to look like. And it's almost looking like the same states that determined the election of Trump are more or less going to be also part of what is going to determine what happens this time around. And so from the outside world, like I said, we can only hope, go by what we think is best for us, but ultimately the Americans are going to decide for us what is good for them, which ultimately might or might not be good for everybody else.
All right, Alex, let's take a breather in as far as that issue is concerned. I mean, we were with you at the residence back in 2016 when Trump was announced the winner. But I'd like to come back home. You know, turushe kamoja ketu huku nyumbani. Today, the president will be hosting the 6th extraordinary session on COVID-19, meeting governors, of course, to assess the situation as far as coronavirus is concerned and what could be the likely outcome in as far as this session is concerned. Alex, what are your expectations? What are the likely outcomes from today's session?
I am not expecting a lot. The only dicey issue that they need to be dealing with is whether to open the schools in full or not. I think that is going to be the biggest decision that they will need to make. However, on other matters, politicians out there, they're doing what they know best. The campaigns are all over the place. BBI has just, report has just been launched, and so they need to popularize it. They have already created a calendar. I do not see the president stopping that from continuing because he's part of it. In a radical shift in terms of our medical facilities, in terms of adding the capacity, especially to deal with critical cases. So if that is not addressed, because I have not seen that much of that, then we are going to be in the same cycle where we're talking about the same thing and repeating the same thing.
Nice. Alex Munyasi there. Thank you so much for joining us right here at Good Morning Kenya, sharing your insight on both the America poll as well as the COVID-19 situation today. That remains to be the two critical issues, or those remain to be the two critical issues in as far as the news diary in Kenya is concerned. One is the 6th extraordinary session of the COVID-19 response summit that will be meeting the president today. He will be hosting them, and we'll be getting details live from State House in the course of time. And also the decision that will be made by Americans today. Will it be Joe Biden or will it be Donald Trump? Those are the issues that we shall be covering for you in earnest right here at KBC Channel 1. Regina Manyara and Jane Wamboy are still with me right here in studio, just trying to dissect some of the issues that we're currently processing in as far as this is concerned. Ladies, what's your take so far?
I can say the social media is a buzz. It's actually lit from yesterday night all the way to this morning. As you know, Americans and also non-Americans actually keenly monitor what is happening in the US of A. As you said, it's some of the swing states as it stands. It's Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia. And it appears those are 62 votes, the electoral votes, 62, quite a huge number if 270 is what either incumbent Donald Trump or Joe Biden require to just secure the presidency in the US of A. As it stands, we have 237 votes, electoral votes to Biden, while Trump has 210. It's, however, not so clear as to when we'll have all the votes in of those particular swing states there, as I mentioned, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia. But it appears that Georgia indeed has leaned red towards Trump there. And to just check just one comment that we've gotten in regard to this particular issue that we are highlighting. Kenyans are really, coming in on board. And Jane, if you'd allow me to just check one that comes out very clear here. A person says, well, it's too early, but I'm calling it for Trump. That is none other than Collins Anampio. While Onsumu Noah says, Mike Pence 2024. Jadida, who is a Kenyan who currently resides in America, says, huku ni kama hakuna Tharakanithi hopes. That's no pun intended there in regard to this. Then, while at the same time, Fanon Tamo, who also was a former colleague here, says, anxiety is rife here, 2020 U.S. presidential election. On the other hand, Joe Fredrickson Ndongo says, he Trump anachukua asubuhi, jua ikitoka. Continue sending in your feedback.
Yeah.
What do you want to rope in?
You know what? Joe Biden is currently having an address. Could we listen in, ladies?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Oh, okay, we'll be getting to listening to Joe Biden so far. But I wonder why they would say there's no Tharaka Nithi. I mean, people are just bracing themselves for what will happen in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. These are usually swing states. They can flow either way. And we saw them literally hand over the presidency to Donald Trump in 2016. Will the behavior be the same this time around? That's an issue we shall be probing. But I understand there is some news from Montana, Jane.
Yes, Montana has given Trump its vote and Hawaii has voted for Biden. And so far, these are the 9 states whose votes are yet to come in. That is Alaska, Georgia, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Most of these are known as battleground states. And for any presidential candidate, they need to secure some states such as Ohio, whose tally is about 89% of its tally has already come in, and Biden is leading in that particular state, and it is one of those Tharaka Nithi.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. It is the Tharaka Nithi there. So we are waiting to see how that will go. Remember, for a president to win, they need to meet the 270 electoral vote threshold to win the presidency. And so far, Biden is in the lead. But why don't we get to have a listen in what Joe Biden is saying in regards to the votes so far?
Live, you'll know Joey spread it. Keep the faith, guys. We're going to win this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your patience is great. Let's walk over here.
So that was Joe Biden, as we predicted, telling his supporters to be patient and keep the faith. He came on stage and the first thing he said is, we knew this could...
Well, that's the feed we're getting from BBC, and that is Joe Biden there speaking from Delaware. Remember, his home is in Wellington City in Delaware, where he is urging the supporters to be patient. Remember, it's closely contested. Anxiety is very much alive. If you're to monitor the activity on social media, the political rhetoric also adding in to the vibe in as far as the U.S. poll is concerned, not to mention some of the judicial declarations that have been made in reference is that Supreme Court decision that was made over Texas. So these are some of the issues that we've been monitoring in as far as the U.S. election is concerned. Provisional results have come in from various states. Again, it's towards a percentage of the vote tallied. We are yet to get the entire tally as time goes by. And this is something that we shall be observing right here at KBC Channel 1. That was Joe Biden, a contender for the presidency of the U.S. And he was urging his residents or his supporters to be patient and to exercise restraint, to sort of be calm and wait for the process to take its due course. And that is something that we are noting in earnest right here at KBC Channel 1 as we continue coverage on this particular matter. Remember, as we've been highlighting and as we've heard from residents in the U.S., that Wisconsin, Pennsylvania and Michigan remain to be swing states that could otherwise inform this vote. And why are these particular states very important? If you're to monitor the allocation of the electoral college vote, well, I think the difference is around 3 or 2. Regina will be clearing out that out for us. That's why the outcome of Pennsylvania, the outcome of Wisconsin, and the outcome of Michigan is all too important. So far, the 39 electoral college votes for Texas go to Trump. However, remember, there is that litigation that is currently ongoing. Sometime yesterday, we saw the Supreme Court declare or give voice and ruling over a matter that was presented therein in as far as the counting of the vote in Texas is concerned, and we're making reference to the mail voting. However, the Republicans are very much alive in court with their lawyers challenging that particular ruling by the Supreme Court. Which way then will this go, owing to the fact that Texas has given it to Donald Trump? This is in as far as the results that we are receiving is concerned. But for now, Regina, over to you.
Now, you've asked a question about what the electoral votes that Michigan has. Michigan has 16, while Pennsylvania has 20. Wisconsin has 10, and North Carolina 15. Now, with that issue about Texas, Texas gave Donald Trump 38 of the 38, while Florida gave him 29. Now, some of why we're regarding to this Pennsylvania as well as Michigan,
we talk about the swing states. Votes can go extremely this way or extremely the other way. So we'll be here to keep you up to date, of course, with our subsequent broadcastings here on the Broadcasting House, keeping you up to date with all that is happening in the U.S. votes. 2020 presidential elections, over 102 million voters had voted before Election Day yesterday. So far, at least 30 states have had their results tallied. Biden seems to be in the lead. And of course, remember, they need an electoral vote and not about popular vote. Keep it here on KBC to catch up with all that and so much more that is happening with the elections in the U.S. I'm Jane Wamboy. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
The Kenya cultural heritage is huge, and Kenya rock art history goes all the way back to prehistoric times.
Rock art is a form of either it comes in different forms. Either it can be paintings, and in Turkana or in Kenya for that matter, we have rock art done in red paint or white paint or black paint. And it depicts different aspects, can be animals, human beings, figurines, or geometrical images. We also have rock art that is done on engraving, pegged actually on stone.
Popular rock art sites like Mfangano Island on Lake Victoria is one of the scenic attractions, but there are more of such sites in Kenya, Lake Turkana being one of those sites.
In Kenya, we have 23 museums across the country. The Nairobi National Museum is our flagship museum because this is where we have the biggest museum, and we also have a diverse variety of exhibitions. We have about 8 galleries within the Nairobi National Museum, and these galleries showcase Kenya's history, and also art and rock art is also included in those exhibitions. The other 22 museums are satellite museums, which mainly deal with regions. Like, for example, Kisumu Museum showcases the history of the Western region. For Jesus, it's a monument. It tells us about the interactions of the coastal people with the initial people who came from various parts of the world to the coast.
Rock art, first of all, from the kind of images that have been done and different patterns. And as my colleague also, that question was answered about the different kind of the working with geologists and rock art specialists, we can able to deduce behavior. And we don't look at rock art in isolation. We look at it also in archaeological context with other materials.
Turkana is a world center for the study of the origin of mankind and has made Kenya to be associated with the first cradle of mankind because of the fossils found there, but not many are aware of the rock art in Turkana caves and space, which are an added gem to Turkana's archaeological findings.
How do we discover these sites? Of course, we say that there are more scientific ways, like geological ways of finding the different kind of areas that we have, these possible areas of this, where the archaeological sites can be, and also, as I mentioned, by chance, but most importantly, working with the local community.
I'm so proud that some people are actually doing, scientific research about Turkana. For me, this is new. I didn't know anybody is even caring about Turkana, so I see light at the end of the tunnel. And I learned quite a lot because in my projects, I'm planning to put up a cultural center whereby we can save the culture that is lost, that is fading away, from keeping the archaeological history, the Turkana regalia, the beads. And with this, we are able to attract more tourists and more investors.
The collaboration between the Kenyan and Italian governments that led to the rock art exhibition at the Nairobi National Museums will enhance the conservation of the age-old rock art tradition within this area.
We think, first of all, that the cultural sector, in particular, in this case, this cultural heritage, is a very important sector, both for our bilateral collaboration between Italy and Kenya, because Italy has a very important tradition and experience in archaeological mission. But also, and in particular, we will stress that it's very important for Kenyan and Kenyans to be aware of the richness and the richness of their cultural heritage, in this case, these rock arts in Turkana. It's a great, not just remains, but it's also a great opportunity for Kenya, also in terms of development, of knowing his history, at the same time to be aware of this extraordinary heritage that we have.
While the exercise of preserving this natural heritage might sound simple and straightforward, there is more than meets the eye.
Preservation of rock art is a little bit complicated because most of these rock art are in remote, very dry places. And most of these sites you cannot build museums around them because of the complications. Some of them are in rock caves, some of them are in shelters, some of them are just on exposed rock places. So the only thing that we can be able to do is document this rock art and also create awareness among the local people who live within those sites. And that is what we've been doing for many years, even going back to as early as the 70s when we had Mary Leakey, who is the mother of Richard Leakey, working on rock art in Tanzania. She did a lot of documentation in terms of even tracing the rock art itself. And that rock art has been presented within the National Museums of Kenya for a very long time. But maybe managing and conserving the rock art on site is a difficult affair. It's also very expensive, and we have to bring very many stakeholders on board. The major people are the local people because those are the people who are interacting with these sites almost on a daily basis. So we are trying to work with them, but the key thing here is documenting and making sure that we create awareness within those areas where the rock art is to be found.
He goes through the drills with ease and skills, eager to pass on his vast experience to the aspiring players in their quest to become greater players. And where else would they get all that than from the wizard himself? The legendary Waisale Koisolomani Serevi from Fiji, who visited Kenya for the second time with the Russian sides for the 2019 Safari Sevens.
I've seen that Russian players have the strength. They are strong players, they are fast, and they have the heart to play rugby. And the only assessment I've seen so far is in sevens rugby, the thing that I need to work more on is decision making, trying to create space. In sevens now, up in 2005, that was the highlight of my rugby career.
He's also graced at 3 Commonwealth Games where they won silver and bronze, and not forgetting the RB Sevens World Series where he guided Fiji to their first win in the 2005 and 2006 season to break the New Zealand stronghold, and the first team to do so before Fiji's other triumphs in 2014-15, 2015-16 and 2018-19.
I ended up playing 21 years of international rugby, played in 7 Rugby World Cups, and won 2 World Cup Sevens for Fiji in 97 and 2005. And I believe I have achieved my goal of making people, not only people in Fiji happy, but people all over the world. When I go to places, they always talk about, oh, we always follow you. And for me, it's like I've made people happy, not only in Fiji, but all over the world.
His stunning contribution to the shorter version of the game, where he amassed 1,310 points in the all-time list of the World Series, among other achievements in the 15th, where he garnered 376 points in his international appearances for Fiji, saw him inducted in the IRB Hall of Fame, the first Fijian to achieve such a feat.
Before I went to my first rugby tour in 1989, and my dad asked me, I met my dad and he told me 2 very important things. He told me, Waisale, before you go on this tour, make sure you be Waisale Serevi. You go and Waisale Serevi when you come back. Don't go as Waisale Serevi and come back as Bob Marley or Lagi Dube. You have to be the same person. Secondly, you have to respect all the people in the land, whether they are this or this. So those 2 things carried me through. People say a lot of things about me. It comes here and it goes, and I want to be a normal person, like everyone.
Unlike all players, Serevi had his low moments too.
When we lost to Western Samoa at Hong Kong Sevens in 1993, in the finals, 12-10, it was a tough game. We won 1990, 91, 92, and 93. We lost to Samoa, but they deserved to win. They played really well, and congratulations to them.
The Rugby Sevens magician who played for clubs in Europe and notably France attributes his all to the mighty hand of God who's been his strength throughout his career.
Philippines 4:18 says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Anywhere, anything you do in life, whether work, school, rugby, or whatever you do, you need strength. And I always believe strength from God is the source of my strength that has carried me all these 21 years of international rugby. And that is what I believe, and it connects to my belief and the work ethics that I always do.
Andin, everybody, Andin, number 1. You're the number 1 rugby player in the world. Russia on 3. Andin, 2 or 3. Russia. Kenya on 3. Andin, 2 or 3. Kenya.
The greatest rugby sevens player of all time is now giving back to the society, just like he relished, as many more aspire to write their name in the history books too.
I've done a lot of things in rugby, and I believe in life it's not all about us. It's not all about us. For me, the main thing I'm happy about is giving back to rugby, to try and help kids. When I was young, nobody came and helped me. So when I achieve all these things, I go down to the kids and try and help them and try and motivate them that they can be the best kids in the world. They can achieve anything in life and nothing is impossible. For them, it's like 3 important things I always say. My advice to the kids too, make sure to believe in themselves. You can listen to people what they say about you, but you are the key. You have to believe in yourself. Secondly, you have to keep working hard. Whatever it takes, you have to work hard. Thirdly, you don't have to give up. You'll have difficulties sometimes, but if you never give up, you'll achieve your goals. Kenya Rugby, I want to wish them well. I heard they have a new coach here. I want to wish them well for this Sevens tournament, HSBC 7 Series, and the Commonwealth Games, and the Olympic next year.
He is one of the greatest players of all time, better known as Diego Armando Maradona of Argentina. He's been there, done that, set records on and off the pitch with his achievements to set world transfer records. And here is his story.
Villa Fiorita is a slum to the south of Buenos Aires. Its one claim to fame, though, is that it's the birthplace of Diego Armando Maradona. Here, in an environment of stunted dreams and social wasteland, football is the only motivation for a youth that have little else to look forward to. You either excel or disappear. There's no place for second best. Maradona was not only exceptional, but an inspiration for others to follow. If miracles could happen, then surely Maradona had been truly blessed.
Maradona era un caso excepcional ya de chico. Era tan fabuloso que yo creí que no era de la edad que tenía, creía que era un enano. Porque en la categoría de él hacía cosas que eran muy superiores para donde estaba él.
Maradona's precocious skills were soon expanded into a dazzling repertoire that audiences marveled at time and again. Despite the disappointment of being dropped from Menotti's '78 World Cup squad, Maradona bounced back in devastating style at the '79 World Youth Cup. A shining star had well and truly arrived.
Yo a Menotti eso jamás se lo voy a perdonar. Le quitó el mejor mundial a Diego.
Para mí fue un fenómeno. Para mí me gustó más que Pelé.
Maradona es un jugador increíble que ha logrado movilizar aún un poco más a los hinchas de Boca de lo que se movilizan por la camiseta en sí mismo.
A world record transfer did little to help an unhappy stay at Barcelona. And the '82 World Cup proved to be an even bigger frustration as his skills were repeatedly blunted by executioners expert at tormenting and intimidating, leading unfortunately to his early dismissal. However, his much publicized move to Napoli was to be a partnership made in heaven and hell, as both club and player had much to prove and sought recognition in the toughest league in the world. Maradona was given free rein to exploit his extraordinary talent with a public that adored him, and he repaid them handsomely. Now the stage was set for his crowning glory. Mexico was without doubt Maradona's tournament in every way. Now more mature and streetwise, he was far better focused than in '82. He took a relatively ordinary Argentinian team and turned them into world beaters, but not without sparking controversy first. The infamous Hand of God incident will remain an albatross around his neck forever. As much as his second goal against England is seen as the greatest World Cup goal ever. That sublime action elevated Maradona truly into superstar status, and to many overshadowed a draft final that predictably saw a Maradona-inspired Argentina run out winners against a defensive and unimaginative West Germany by 3-1. There was no Menotti this time, but a more pragmatic coach in Carlos Bilardo, who can be thankful to have had Maradona at his best.
Y tenemos que estar agradecidos a los argentinos por todo lo que nos brindó y por todo lo que nos dio y por todo lo que nos hizo conocer a nosotros en cualquier parte del mundo.
Como jugador es el número uno lejos, pero lejos, de toda la historia que a mí me tocó vivir en el fútbol, de todo lo que conozco.
Maradona es un genio.
Whilst the genius excelled, he also reveled in the notoriety, refusing to draw a line between right and wrong. A hero to many, privately Maradona was already self-destructing, with a rabid media keen to crucify him. Drugs and creeping self-doubt began to erode the talent he firmly believed to be a God-given gift. Returning to his beloved Boca, Maradona's dreams are fleetingly rekindled, only to be disillusioned by increasing signs that he was really human after all, much to his family's sorrow and his own despair. But he still managed to defy the odds, only for USA 94 to add yet another embarrassing nail in his coffin. The drug scandal continued to erupt, implicating his agent Guillermo Coppola before he reluctantly acknowledged his drug dependence and need for serious help. The spectre of Maradona still prevails, though, through his own...
Sino mimi namweleza mzee kukodisha suti ndio hiyo. Mimi nakwambia jana ungeniona yani nilipokuwa naipiga mwenyewe nilikuwa nimeng'ara kitu kuruka.
Sijui shetani gani huyu? Nisamee. Shika.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Wow! Congratulations, Atito. You know, I've always wanted to put on nanga, put on makeup. You know, things like those.
Very good thing. Atito, my friend. I thought you'll never find love after that, Joanne.
Please leave Jabir out of this.
Okay, now I get this. You are married and you still have unresolved issues.
Julia, leave me alone, okay? Raf, if you must. Raf, Ato kitaka kupiga duru, piga. Just don't let me see a fool in front of me.
Inyanju, who said I'm laughing? Okay, you people are so unfair. Why does everybody think that I do not care what happened to you guys?
Guess who the celebrity is? Atito.
Not yet, teacher.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
The topic is abuse and rape.
Yes. Skima is an organization that deals with sexual and gender-based violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence.
How did that domestic violence towards you make you this person?
She was 19, she'd been raped by 5 men, and she had been thrown in a ditch. So when I sat down with them, she told me how dangerous it was for this girl to go back, because who knows what would happen to her. One thing that people don't know, and why rape is not taken as seriously as it should, rape is a very personal crime. It's violence against you.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
This week on Wake Up and Makeup, we are celebrating grandmothers.
I'll take you to another version. I'll just promote you from kindergarten
to university.
Yes, direct.
Nimefanyiwa massage, mkiniona hapa mimi si ure mnajua. Inang'ara kabisa.
Now you have to just rub it until you feel like the product is. He's going to be telling us more about what are some of the issues ladies above their 50s go through. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Amit.
Awesome, it's a pleasure, Christine.
That time where you and I have been waiting for. Don't forget to watch this episode only on Wake Up and Makeup.
Next on.
Ningependa tuzungumzie jinsi ya kuwalea watoto kwa muktadha wa Kiislamu.
Hawa watoto ni neema, hawa watoto ni tunu kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Hawa watoto ni amana, lazima tuchunge amana hiyo.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
For the rest of my life, I'll be with you. I'll stay by your side, honest and true.
Next on.
Are you ready for the show? Anita Dimumudu, 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 Sakala Nabi Sumbua.
We have lined up a great show for you guys.
Hi, my name is Melissa Lesilale. I'm a commercial model. Yeah, the challenge is you have to know your lines when you have a shoot that has lines. You have to know how to execute it in terms of your facial expressions.
Salema, ikayalami, ilondoloze.
The second leg of the CAF Champions League encounter between five-time winners Zamalek and Raja Casablanca is on this Wednesday in Cairo. The match had been postponed twice due to the Raja camp being invaded with the coronavirus. Zamalek pipped Raja Casablanca by 1-0 in the first leg tie played in Morocco on the 18th of October 2020. Now, between these two North African soccer giants, who will join Al Ahly in the grand finale? Watch the cracker live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 this Wednesday, the 4th of November, kickoff 10 p.m. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
I'm ready to spend the night here with you, Porfirio.
That sounds very suggestive.
Is to make him very jealous of you and Luisa of me.
I'm not going to let Luisa marry that loser.
You know how much I love you, and you know that.
Want us to give him a good beating?
No, I don't want you to hurt him. It's only a matter of scaring him.
Just be careful with Lucho, because he sticks his nose to everything. Why did they do this to us?
Hello? Who am I speaking to? Oh, that voice. That voice, I know that voice somewhere.
In Love with Ramon.
My name is Jane Mushoki. I'm a director of Memorable Decor in Events. We do events and outside catering in general. We started this company back in 2012. We started as a very small company. By that time, we were just specializing with decor and the clouds, where we are today. And we were doing very small events. We had not gone and we had not done an extension of corporate events. But as the company kept on growing every year since 2012, now we are doing large businesses. We have really entered into outside caterings, corporate functions, weddings, mostly, let's say, all the events. We are also doing events consultancy as a firm, and we are also doing wedding planning, inclusive in our package. When we were starting this business, it's very good to be honest. We started it as a very small business. Actually, I was doing it within my compound. And every time a customer would say, we want to come to your office and we want to do a demo setup, I could always welcome. I could tell them that's where my offices are, as we are waiting to establish our company in a larger way. A wedding client will always come to you. They specialize with the decor. As you know, that wedding is all about decor. For that one, we will come sit down with the customer. The first thing we would want to know, there are those things that you would want to know before you discuss further about a wedding. The first, you want to know the date of the wedding, to check on your diary whether you are booked. Second, you want to know the number of packs. You also want to know the color scheme of the wedding. You also want to know the venue, if they have an option of the venue they would want, or they want you to plan for them. That means you outsource everything for them, like photography and videography. Sometimes as a company, we do cakes. Our client normally pays the first deposit. We normally come to do dummy setup. We have an allowance of 3 dummy setups for your function. Because we are very sensitive, and especially weddings, we would want to do exactly what we agreed with you. So we will come do a table setup. We'll show you the kind of linen that we shall use for your event, so that when you come on that material day, we'll not argue that this was not my color. Because in this industry, and especially now that things are coming from China every day, you will get a customer will come and say, my wedding is blue and red. There are different kinds of colors in red and blue. For us, we have to be very specific on the type and the color that the customers want. We have imported all different kind of linens. So when our clients come here, we just give them the variety. They choose from the different colors that we have. They select what they want. Then that's what we use for the dummy setup. When they are coming for dummy setup, we will always recommend to them to come with maybe the best couple on 2 of their best made, so that they can help them to choose the best. As much as we shall listen to the bride, we'll always give that an allowance. Because in most cases, sometimes a bride can come without knowing exactly what they want. Maybe they have gone to the internet, they have Googled, they have gone to Pinterest, they have Googled, and before they make their mind on what they want, because they go to the internet every day, people are having their breakfast. There is also the lunch setups. When we come to the lunch setups, that's a round table setup where we normally do the cutleries on the table. You set the cutleries on the table, the napkins, the glasses. The client will always go serve the food, then sit down. In events in hotels, as I was saying, corporates, sometimes when you get to the hotels that we have here in Kenya, some of them have low capacity of the numbers. So sometimes we offer the hotels things like the dome setup, the beeline tents. We do the A-frame, like now there is a new tent called the A-frame tent, where you can even do a conference in the A-frame tent. And even you can do to a capacity of 5,000. The corporates are also having functions outside the hotels, when they normally go and outsource for venues. Entirely, let's say that we do a lot of company planning. For the basic table setup, as I was saying, and especially maybe for lunch or dinner, you must be seated on a table, like now the way this table is dressed. One, the waiter is supposed to serve the food from the light side of the guest. So when, like the way I am, you're supposed to serve your food to your guest like this, from the light hand side. When you come to the table setup, we normally, if you are having soup on your menu, you're supposed to have a soup spoon. You're also supposed to have a meat knife and a meat fork. You're also supposed to have a dessert fork and dessert knife. In most cases, it's not every time that you should do a dessert fork and a dessert knife, because it also depends with what dessert you are serving. There are some desserts that will be served with a dessert spoon. Some of other desserts will be served with a soup spoon. So for the dessert covers, you will always change. Also for the meat covers, that's the meat fork and the meat knife. Depending if you are serving fish, then you're supposed to use a fish knife. You're supposed, every table will always need a glass for the customers to serve water. This is a napkin. Instead of now doing the paper napkins, this one you lay to your guest. Instead of using the table napkins, in our service, when it comes to food, we normally have the entree plates and the dessert plates. Here they are the samples. For the conference, We normally use the teacup, this small teacup, the one that has a saucer and a teaspoon. But also depending with different faction, there are others that shall use, would prefer to use the mug cups because the teacup is a bit small. No, basically now this is the setup. Different customers will use different kind of seats. This is a gold Chavari seat, which price is different with the plastic seat. The gold Chavari seat goes for 150, that's the late market. We also have the white Chavari seat, and we also have plastic seat dressed in a spandex seat cover. For the plastic seat, we can always do a tie back according to the color scheme. We also have different types of the seat cover. We have different kind of linens. When you walk into our store, you can always be able to get all the colors. These are peach tablecloth. As I was saying, blue are different colors. For us, we have the ocean blue. We also have a touch of royal and ocean blue in it. And we also have now a true ocean blue. So when the customer comes, we'll always give them the variety of the three. Then they can choose which blue they want. We have the white. There is the black jacquard tablecloth. We have red jacquard tablecloth. We have burgundy tablecloth. We have the sequin red tablecloth. We have gold sequin tablecloth. We have, most people may call it rose gold or blush pink tablecloth. We have yellow. We have pink. We have a silver sequin tablecloth. We have a navy blue tablecloth. And we also have other varieties that have already gone for events. The biggest challenge is working overtime. Some of the tents needs like 3 days to do the structure. Like the A-frame tent, the one that is new in the market, you need like 3 days for you to have finished that setup before the customers walks in. So what normally do, the first day you pitch the tent, which take the whole day. Then the second day, that's the time now you go do the tables, you do the chairs, you do the lighting, you do the floral arrangement. No, that is the second day. Now the third day, if we say it was a corporate dinner, a gala dinner. Now the third day, now that's the time now you do the cutleries on the table. You put the flowers, finalizing on the small issues, so that by the time you're coming to hand over that function to the concerned person, maybe like an hour before. Why am I saying an hour before? You need to let the concerned people come in before. They should not just walk in when the guests are also walking in. You must give good service to your customer. When you do good service to your customer, they will never let you go. Having the light attitude is also very important, because in most cases, you are doing something to a customer who have gone to the internet, who have always been thinking about that function for so many days, and one who is always looking the best for their event. So if you doesn't have the light attitude,